All right, good morning, everybody. Today's talk is called The Wrath of Q, or loading coils making short antennas feel tall. That's a pretty old picture down the bottom of a commercial loading coil. And the picture off to the right is a loading coil for a US Navy. So So what is a loading coil? Without reading too much into that, it basically makes an electrically short antenna resonate at a desired frequency. And they are really critical for mobile antennas or other applications where your physical size prevents the use of a full-length antenna. So they're easy to design, they're easy to build, they're a lot of fun. So if you have a restricted location, rather than maybe buying a $70 or $100 match from Chameleon, make your own. They're not too hard. Okay, loading coils. Kind of interesting. The theory kind of popped up in the late 1800s by Oliver Heaviside. And that moved into Morse code and telephony early on. And they tried with a bimetallic iron copper cable. That didn't work too well. Another gentleman, George Campbell, tried to use the bimetallic cable and then abandoned that in favor of a loading coil. Down the bottom are some of the historical loading coils that they used to use. And the first telephone cable using a loaded line was put in public service in Boston in May of 1900. So that's kind of where loading coils got a start, mostly in telegraph and in early telephone. So you've all probably seen these examples, sliders or tapped, fixed. A screwdriver antenna is basically a adjustable loading coil. There are all kinds of variations out there. You can buy, you can build to suit your needs. So of course there's math involved. This is the basic formula for how to calculate the required inductance that you need. Pretty simple. You can find this formula online, and of course when the presentation is over. However, there's a great calculator at the website there. The link will be active in the slide deck. This is pretty cool because he gives you options for base loading, center loading, top loading, a lot of parameters you can input. In fact, you need to know whether your wire gauge, your insulation thickness, your L over D ratios. And again, I got another slide on design considerations to talk about that, but this is the calculator that I used for some coils that I built. One I'll pass around today. It's really good. It's helpful. If you plug in the right stuff, you'll get a good answer out. If you don't plug in the right stuff, well, sorry. So why not make your own? Again, you can buy these, but why not make your own? PVC, cardboard, plastic buckets. There's a lot of construction options out there. They're very forgiving. You can either do a slider, taps, if you have a lathe, you can take a PVC pipe and put a thread into it and put your coil in the thread. Lots of ways to do this, and you can do it very inexpensively. anywhere from, hell, I built one out of scrap parts laying around the house, or you can spend a lot of money. So some design considerations. Depending on what you're doing, loading coils can build up some heat. Okay. I built one out of PVC pipe with some uninsulated wire. So I had to space it right and things like that. And I was out playing on a high duty cycle, FT8 in this case, and a little bit of a warm day and a slight breeze and the coil failed, structurally failed. So PVC is a good option, but it may not be your best option for building a coil. The length of the coil and the strength kind of go hand in hand. If you need a fairly wide or a long coil, maybe use something stronger than PVC. The example I have uses a copolymer plastic rod, which is structural. Consider the diameter of the coil. They kind of tell you go between 0.5 and 2 for L/D ratio. I've read papers that say it really doesn't matter, but if you're somewhere in the 1 to 2 range for L/D, it works pretty good. And then if you're going down in frequency, you need a larger diameter coil, 4 inches diameter or more, to get the right inductance and to get the Q factor properly. A larger coil is going to have a better Q, which is good for you. And there's a good article down the bottom on L/D ratios and the like. So if you're bored one day and want to do some reading, that's a good paper to read. And then how are you going to adjust the coil? Is it going to be fixed? Are you going to use taps or are you going to use a slot? Those are all important considerations. And then of course your operating environment. If you're going to be in a nice calm area, not too much wind, maybe a short whip, you might get away with different construction techniques, but play with them. So this first one, and I'm going to pass it around. I used this at field day 2 years ago. With the only modifications done since is I got a set of radios from Chameleon. I had to modify their base to get it insulated. I've tried it, but I haven't really tried it yet. This thing worked great. No problems at all, transmitting all over the country with it. Sat around. The coil is wound on copolymer plastic. The washers at the top and the bottom are there for bending loads. Plastic itself isn't so good if you're trying to, pull things out in tension. So I put the washers on to handle bending loads. All the parts are available on Amazon. If you look at the top, the little brass fitting, that's a threaded insert. And the way to you drill a 1/2-inch hole in the plastic. And a really easy way to put it in is to use a socket head cap screw and a nut. Screw that in and lock it down on the insert, and then you can screw that right into the plastic without a problem. The 3/8-24 stainless steel, threaded rods you can get on Amazon. I even found a bunch of that stuff down at Ace Hardware, things like that. So it's all available, easy to make. On the calculations here for the mill whip that I have on there was you don't need the loading coil for 6 and 10 meters. And it does tune quite nicely on both 6 and 10 meters. And then 15 meters, 20, 30, 40, and 60. I do have another rod, and I may find the extra coil length I need for 80 meters. But then I'll have to stack the coils on top of each other. So we'll figure that out when the time comes. And I have this mounted on a tripod, but you could mount this pretty much anywhere. You could put a mount and put it on your truck if you wanted to. It's just, they're real easy to work with, and the coils are not hard to build. So I like to play with stuff, and one of the hand swaps, somebody had a $5 table. They had a bunch of variable capacitors, and really cool, they had a variable inductor. And I thought, well, what can I do with these things? And I really thought about making a Pi network base match. And that's the schematic there. And there's a reason for that schematic. And the reason is that variable capacitors, the housing of them, the outer housing is typically the ground. So you can't do the other circuit with the coil to ground and the capacitors in series. This match does work. I've tried it on 20 meters with a stainless steel whip. I put the mill whip on it just to easier to talk to people, hand it around. But it works quite nicely. It's actually easy to build. Of course, the parts you can get online. This is just a standard waterproof electrical box. And I do have counterpoiser / grounds. I didn't include them today, but you'll see the connection on that. Fun little project. You know, took a couple 3 days to make sure the circuit was going to work properly, and a couple 3 days to put it all together. You know, just kind of a fun project. So things you can do when you're really bored. Come on, you. I think that might be the end of my pitch. That's why it's giving me trouble. Anyway, yeah, that would be the end of my presentation. So if we have, I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing. I'll leave the recording on. And I see one chat. If we have any questions online, please use the chat function. Okay. Well, David, that was interesting. Any questions? Any questions here? Yes, sir. Yeah, but Jim has a comment.
Okay, 2 months ago, in the Crackling Static, I wrote an article on getting up on 160 meters. And it has information again on all these base loading type operations and a couple of really good links for other sites also to do your coil calculations and how to build them. So you might look back at your older issue there. Let's see, I think it was 2 months ago I did that. And really appreciate Doug doing this.
Yeah, I am going to have full Word instructions for how to build the small and in with the pitch. You're welcome. I'll take your thumb with me. I mean, you guys seen this? Oh, okay. All right. I'll have instructions, so hopefully they'll get uploaded with the pitch. If not, I did have them in a Crackling Static about a year or so ago. Pretty easy. Again, all the parts are available from Amazon. And again, if you're going to be out Washoe Lake or somewhere where it's windy, try to use structural plastic. You could make it out of wood as well. That works. just have fun with them. You know,
Doug,
couple $3 you can make a loading coil with scrap you have laying around the garage. It's a lot of fun. So before I end Ed, I think you can give it the frequency you want. I tended to use mid to lower band, kind of in the lower part of the general and digital area to adjust things. They're pretty forgiving. I use an antenna tuner in my Go box and at home, so that kind of helps me out a little bit. But you can, and with the one base loaded that I made with the variable inductor, I can really fine tune that for any band and any frequency. But it's really up to you. So just go to the website and play with the calculations. If you do a lot of CW, you might want to get the inductance down in the CW area of the band. If you do a lot of FT8, same thing. But it's really up to you. You can also calculate the Q of the coil, and the higher the Q, the tighter the bandwidth is going to be. So, you can play with that as well. All right, any other questions? Okay, hearing none, I am going to end the recording. And that's all we have for this week, a nice short meeting. Thank you, everybody, for attending. Really appreciate it. And enjoy the rest of your Saturday. And if you can, please go help out at the Scout event. Otherwise, I'll hopefully see most of you at the Aries meeting.